Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everybody, to another installment of Mannimal Research. Glad everybody could stop in and visit with us today. All the people that are going to watch it live tonight, and of course, all of you that are going to catch up to it a little bit later. We certainly appreciate it. Get a couple things out of the way first. Always, again, thank you guys for stopping in and ask you to please hit that subscribe button if you like what you see. And joined as always tonight by my partner in crime, Mr. Ricky Weaver. How's it going tonight, Ricky?
Going good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. And we are thrilled and very lucky, I think, to have the myth, the man, the legend, Mr. Walls, joining us. Walls has become a fan favorite. We're always getting asked, "Where's Walls?" So thought we'd bring Walls on to help liven up the broadcast a little bit. How's it going, Walls?
Good, good, doing good. Kind of playing on the phone, kind of searching some stuff for looking up for our convention coming up in July. Gatlinburg.
You look good and comfortable. Glad to see that.
Yeah, I'm tired. Hard day at work.
Yeah, yeah, I heard that. We talked a little bit last week about our last trip that we took out there, and Walls, you wasn't with us for that one. Me and Ricky talked about it. Me and Ricky both agree it's probably our best expedition that we've had so far. We had it was a really, really active night. Well, what are your thoughts? Interested in see that.
You talking about from last time our investigation?
Yeah.
Very exciting. Still kind of I still kind of got the skeptic of what, because I remember we did debunk one of the things of one of the rocks that did residual heat, and we thought something was laying down. But yeah, I believe we from listening to some of the recordings, we had visitors. I believe we got a little bit more closer with them. The first time we ever had it, we had either two or one, got something, and then now we got a whole. We got either three or four in there, and I think we got maybe we made contact somewhere.
Yeah,
and I was pretty impressed with it. I was excited, and a little on the scare side, especially with that what we call is a broken wing swing set noise that we kept hearing.
Yeah, we heard kind of a mechanical sound. We didn't touch on that a little bit, but best way I can describe it is mechanical. It sounded like metal on metal, and anybody knows the area. I mean, if you people know the area that we're talking about up there, there's nothing metal up there. I mean, it's all woods, and it was really creepy. It sounded to me like a swing set, like an old rusty swing set. But yeah, we hadn't talked about that yet.
It was following us up as it was going down the road. So
yeah, around the same time you and Rick were getting whistled at.
Oh yeah. Oh God, that was awesome. That was one of the best.
Yeah, that was a real good trip. We'll talk a little bit about tonight's guest. I personally am thrilled and honored to be welcoming Mr. Daniel Benoit tonight. I get to feel fancy when I say his last name, Benoit. Daniel Benoit. But yeah, he is. Everybody, most people know about Daniel. He's the founder of the ECBRO, the East Coast Bigfoot Research Organization. Sorry, I had a little mind part there. Sorry about that. But yeah, Daniel's a good guy. I mean, he's been talking a little bit. He's got a conference coming up in June, his third annual. Actually, he'll be talking a little bit about it, and it's the sound of it. It's taken off, and Daniel's a good guy. He's got the ECBRO group on Facebook there, and got a lot of members there. He's got his own channel on YouTube as well. So Daniel is making a name for himself. He's already made a name for himself, and he's doing well. And I told him that we would love to one day get to the level he's at, and when we get there, he'll be on further. So that's just how it goes.
Yep.
But yeah, Daniel will be on, and we're tickled to have him. Rick, you find anything else out about the area we have been discussing?
Oh, you're talking about the property down at Lawrence County?
Yeah.
We haven't been down yet due to the snow and all the rain that we had this past weekend. I'm hoping maybe we can get down Friday morning. It's just according to how it goes. I know we've got some more rain that's supposed to be moving into the area tonight, so I don't know yet. Hopefully, Friday. If not, I'm gonna shoot for Sunday.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited. To get down there. I don't know if we've talked to Hut Walls a whole lot about stuff that had been reported to you. It's been going down there, but it's going to be interesting to say the least.
Well, I know. I did notice something that we definitely got to get up to Blue Ridge, because I seen it on Highway 76. I would never thought of it until doing all these some of these investigations that we've done. But I seen structures from the interstate, from the road, and they were clear as day. Like something was marking it. Hey, this is an area to be watching. But it was kind of cool. I was up there in Blue Ridge, working and delivering stuff, and just looking all of a sudden, I seen one was a big old X. And I was like, "How is that doing that?" And I started to stop and get pictures, but I kind of couldn't because with the camera at work, couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Are you talking about going up 515 there above LJ?
Yeah, part of it. Yep, coming down from Blue Ridge into 76 15. Yeah.
That's definitely a hot spot.
Yeah.
Trailhead that comes in off the Appalachian Trail right there that crosses 515.
Yep.
And there was actually, I don't know if y'all boys read about it or not, but you can go back on the internet and check it out. They were actually a sighting right there, just below where the Bigfoot Museum is.
Is that Cherry Log?
Huh?
Cherry Log?
Yeah, Cherry Log. There was a sighting right below the Bigfoot Museum last year by a guy that was coming in home after work one evening. The sighting occurred about I think around 5:15, 5:30, somewhere in that area. But he actually saw this thing walk across the 4-lane and cross over into a patch of woods. And the woods, there was a road that he backed up and turned out a road right above where he saw it at, and thought maybe he might catch the thing on the coming out of the back side of the woods. But he said he went back there and sat for like 15, 20 minutes, and it never did come out of that patch of woods on him. And it frightened him so bad. He said that there was no way he was going to get out and go into the woods and investigate himself.
Smart man. Yeah, I remember reading about that encounter, and Walls, you're right, buddy. We got to get up there. That's a hot spot for sure.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. All right, guys. Well, if y'all are ready, we will bring Mr. Benoit on the show to talk to us a little bit. You guys ready?
Yeah.
We're ready.
Daniel, how's it going, buddy?
It's going well. I heard how you like pronouncing my name.
Yeah, it's not often that I get to sound fancy, man. I'm a Tennessee boy.
Well, a lot of people recognize my name when they hear it or see the spelling of it. They all remember Chris Benoit. And for the record, there's no relation though. But
yeah, that's a shame.
He was actually one of my favorite wrestlers back in the day. But so
very good. Well, Daniel, I talked you up a little bit. You are the founder of the ECBRO. Tell us a little bit about what got you interested, and I don't know if you had an encounter that got you interested and decided to start something, or what. Just walk us into that.
Well, to be honest with you, it had nothing to do with an encounter. Let's just say there was a curiosity that, and I'll get into that curiosity here. That curiosity is actually something that a lot of people are very familiar with. One of the things that really sparked that curiosity was the Roger Patterson footage, and seeing it is one thing, and then seeing it on a documentary where science got involved. I don't know if whoever some people might be familiar with Bill Munns. He's a graphic artist and he analyzes film, and he was able to obtain original copies of that film, and he dissected that thing. He put that thing to work, and it's much as work that not just him. There's other professionals and scientists that put work and effort into that, and there's no comparison. They cannot compare the gait of that walk, and also confirm that there was tracks that were found on site, confirmed by professionals, scientific professionals, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, for example, where they analyze those tracks, and they believe that they are from a real, creature, not human, and after watching all this, where they couldn't debunk it, to me, it built more credibility, and it kind of pumped me up a little bit inside, to be honest with you. It kind of had me excited. And next, as much as I'm in the woods, and before I get into this, I want to stress this, that for the non-believers and skeptics, all the hunters that go out in the woods and people that go hiking all the time, well, when they hear about you believe in Bigfoot, or you go look for Bigfoot, well, you hear the story. I'm in the woods all the time. I never seen no such thing. Well, for one thing, there's people that have been involved, that claim to have been involved for 50, 60 years, have never seen them. Mm-hmm. Then again, your average Joe, it's the ones that don't believe that end up seeing them. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, when I started going in the woods, more after seeing this, and this here really got my curiosity sparked. It had me more on alert. It opened my eyes. It opened my senses. I was actually starting to look for these signs, Any other time before this, being in the woods, you're just used to thinking about, whatever, just going through the woods. And you don't realize how much evidence is actually really out there. Mm-hmm. And if somebody took the time, to start looking, you just might be amazed by what is really there. And in my 10 years, I have found a lot, and it may not be much to some, and science, with the tracks and the tracks that I've cast, I can show that to science. That's nothing to them. They dismiss it. And of course, tracks, science doesn't accept tracks because, as we know, for anyone who's familiar with Ray Wallace back in 1958, I believe that was the year, where he hoaxed a series of tracks, So, yes, tracks can be hoaxed very easily. So, but the big part of it was the Roger Patterson footage. And even though till this day, there's some doubt behind it with a lot of people, but that's to be expected with anybody, with any footage. Although, talking about footage, if you don't mind me mentioning real quick, one thing I noticed even in recent times lately, there's a lot of different Bigfoot footage out there. And some of it could be pretty obvious that it's fake. Then on the other hand, some of it's very questionable. And I believe that there is legit Bigfoot footage out there.
Yeah.
And in my honest opinion, there's footage out there that does not get attention. And in my opinion, it deserves attention. And what's disappointing and aggravating is the footage to a lot of it's obvious that it's a hoax. That's the stuff that gets believed in, where they should be paying attention to some of the other footage that's out there, that's in question, So
yeah, the hoaxes have set the Bigfoot world back so many years, in my opinion. It's going to be very, very hard, or it has been very hard to be taken seriously when you got so many people out there, like you said, faking tracks and stuff like that. But you were talking about the Patterson film. In my opinion, and I very strongly believe that the mystery of Bigfoot was solved in 1967. We had enough evidence from that film right there to go ahead and everyone say, yeah, this thing's real. Let's start doing what we have to do for preservation and everything. This is a legitimately real creature, but didn't happen, obviously.
Right. Well, another thing a lot of people fail to realize, there's actually a history that goes way back. And I don't know if we could count this as legit Bigfoot history, but anybody who's familiar with the Leif Erikson, this is before Christopher Columbus. I don't remember the exact year. I believe it was in 900. I know. Yeah, I'm not going to try to remember, but it was before Christopher Columbus, where Leif Erikson and his men had there was a note or a short story of them encountering what they described to be wild, hairy looking creatures or beasts. Some people believe they were just regular Native Americans dressed up in skins or something. I don't know. There's all kinds of speculation on that, but just his description alone kind of yells out, speaks Bigfoot to me. I don't know. I like to believe that maybe he really did encounter them. Then there's some other credible sources that we could look at that claim to have seen them. Teddy Roosevelt. He was one of the United States presidents. He was an outdoorsman. He knew his wildlife. And for him to come forward to say he saw what he claimed to be a Bigfoot, he knew that wasn't a bear. The man hunted wildlife and big game. So, and not to mention police officers that have come forward and have witnessed, seen such. So, to me, these are all credible sources that support and back up everything.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, these people are trusted enough. Like a police officer is trusted enough to put you in jail off of telling the judge that he saw something. That's enough to lock you up.
Oh, yeah.
And president, we trust them enough to run the country. The state of Tennessee has a congressman, I believe it's a congressman or a senator, I'm not sure, that is on record having seen a Sasquatch. And these are people that we trust. But they start talking about Bigfoot or Sasquatch, and all of a sudden we can't trust them anymore. I mean, that's just not right.
Yeah, you're right. Real quick before I say anything else, I want to give a shout out. I see a couple people in the chat. Miss Nikki Cologne, she's actually my host on my podcast, and Marcella Chadwick from out of Kentucky. And Nikki, by the way, Nikki's from Texas, and Marcella, she's from Kentucky, and she's actually one of my sponsors. So, and she runs Paranormal Chaos is the name of her paranormal group. So, awesome. I want to say hello, guys.
How's it going, guys? Glad y'all could join us.
So, and I'm sure there's others that'll pop on here because I put a short video on my YouTube channel to tell everybody to get over here. So hopefully they come over. A couple of them are so far.
So. Good deal. We appreciate it.
All right.
Okay. You want to talk a little bit about your convention you got coming up?
Yeah, I tell you what, there's a lot of excitement behind this one. Not just the starters. When I first started promoting this year, actually just before the new year started, I started promoting this, and I mean the numbers jumped up quickly. I started off, because I do sell tickets for this event. I had the early bird special tickets. I only had that for 1 month, and I think I sold like 60 tickets under the early bird special. But now they're up to regular price as usual, $20. And the thing is, I got people coming up from South Carolina. I was a part of that event last year back in October, and the team that runs that South Carolina Bigfoot Festival. That team that put that on, they're actually coming up to help be a part of this event. They're actually going to be in charge of doing the contest, and the contests are going to be fun. It's most of the time it's for children. However, adults are welcome to participate as well. I know that's how it went down in South Carolina back in October, and it was awesome. They had a huge turnout. I mean, their festival took place on a street, and the street was packed from one end to the other, and vendors going lined up on both sides. They had live music, and of course, they had one of the buildings there where the speaking presentations took place. So, yeah, we're gonna have all kinds of vendors there. Of course, all guest speakers, raffles, and the raffles are always fun to do as well. So, because everybody, it's fair. The raffle people who pay into the raffle, they'll have a chance to win various different items. A lot of them are donated items from the vendors, and then also there will be a 50-50 money pot drawing. So somewhere, someone will have a chance to win money. So
That's always good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Also, we have people coming. We have other outside radio show podcasts coming in to the Raincoat Mafia podcast. They're from out of West Virginia. They were there at our last event. They will be returning again this year, and it's pretty cool. They go around throughout the event, the venue, and they film and they actually interview people, and they put it up on their podcast and they put it out publicly. It's kind of like a big review, more or less. And I really appreciate what they do. And I'm glad that they're coming back to do it again. And let's see. Yeah, tell you what, I mean, we got some really great speakers lined up. One of the speakers I want to make mention of is Mr. Darby Orcutt from North Carolina State University. He spoke at my first year event. Me and him spoke together down in South Carolina, and he's returning together this third year. And for him, giving a scientific presentation, he is very informative with his lecture. And when it comes to Bigfoot, this man does not deny Bigfoot. He's a believer, but he also speaks in a very objective format, if that's the way to put it. But he's very encouraging at the same time. So me and him spoke on a number of occasions, on the phone over different things. He was also involved with the late Dr. John Bindernagel. For those who know him, wildlife and Bigfoot researcher, Dr. John Bindernagel. They were involved on a project, and right before John passed away, John actually sent Darby Orcutt a collection of his foot casts, and so Darby now has not all of them, but he has a series of John's tracks, which is pretty cool. So yeah, he's somebody very well worth listening to. We got people coming. We got a couple different people coming from Kentucky. We got people coming from all over. We actually got other Tennessee residents coming up. So, North Carolina, South Carolina, West Virginia. I'm not sure where else, but I know in the last couple of years we've had people come all the way from Florida, all the way out from Washington State. So, it's like I said, it's a growing event, and it's looking good. There's a lot of excitement behind it.
Yeah, no, you were gracious enough last night to invite me and my fiance to come up and offer us the VIP status. You offered us to come up there and get in free of charge, and that I really appreciate that. That you didn't have to do that.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that speaks to the kind of guy you are. It really does. I'm gonna do my best to get out there. I googled I did put up, not MapQuest, but my Google Maps, and it's almost 7-hour drive for me. So it's going to be tough, but I'm going to try. I'd love for us, Rick and Walls. I'd love for all of us to get up there and maybe get involved in it a little bit. That'd be great.
Well, I'll tell you what, if these gentlemen want to come up, include them as your guest, and you guys are covered, no charge as well. So,
y'all hear that?
Yeah, I heard that.
So,
Yeah, good deal. Good deal. We might take you up on that, buddy.
yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So,
Yeah. So, as far as your research, you've been in it. You said for about 10 years now. Is that correct?
yes, sir.
Now, have you had any eyewitness accounts yet?
As far as encounters, I personally had one. I had a couple different encounters, but I actually had one that was visual, and I wasn't alone. It was actually back in 2014 for the first time. There was 6 of us total. It was during a camping expedition, and it was May 3rd of 2014. I'll never forget the date. Where we were at this particular time, from where our base camp was, we had set out on foot to work our way down the forest road. We actually went to the lake in the area, and we actually paired up in twos. We spread out around the lake, and we all had radio communication, and there was nobody down there. But a couple of us had our parabolic mics. We were listening and doing whatever, just kind of more or less hanging out. We had one couple with us. They stayed down at the entrance of the lake, and we radioed down. The couple, his name was Kimmy and Darren, and Kimmy decided to give out a vocalization. And I'm going to tell you what, if you're familiar with Bobo's vocalization, if you could picture or imagine a female version of doing Bobo, that's what this lady did. She put out Bobo's vocalization. And of course, being at the lake, any sounds will carry. There is a ridge on one side and a small mountain on the other side. Well, her vocalization, after she put it out, there was a slight echo, but after it died down, a good 10 seconds after her vocal, we actually got a response from that, which was kind of exciting. And it definitely was not an echo, because like I said, this was after the echo had died down. And so we thought things are starting to stir up a little bit. Now, my buddy Tracy, he had a son, Elijah, with him. They were a little further down. They were like in the middle of where me and the other gentleman were. Now, with our parabolic mics, we were hearing movement up behind us up on the ridge. Now, the movement we were hearing, it could have been deer. It could have been any other animal up there. But they were hearing movement up there, too. And then, keep in mind, at this time, it's already dark. And Elijah, Tracy's son, was starting to get scared. And Tracy got on the radio, was telling us what was going on with his son. And the guy Elijah is seeing some red eye shine up on the hill behind us. And I was like, red eye shine? Here I'm thinking, I said, oh no, there's a bear in the area. Because, anytime I seen a black bear at night, their eyes always had a red eye shine. Yep. A lot of people claim Bigfoot's got red eye shine. Well, as far as Bigfoot eye shine, I'll get to that in a little bit, because our encounter involved eye shine. And, well, after being spread apart and listening and communicating back and forth, we weren't really hearing nothing else. So we decided, okay, guys, it's late. We got to regroup. We got about a mile hike back to our base camp. And so we set back on foot. We all had a night lamp, headlamps on, and we were basically walking up the forest road out of the entrance of the lake. We were kind of in single file line, more or less. And as we're walking, we're talking in normal tone. We weren't trying to be quiet or nothing, And as we're walking up the road, I have a habit. I'm looking on the sides of the road in the woods, and I'm looking here, looking there, and I spotted a set of eye shine over to my right. It was obvious deer sign. Now, keep in mind, this was late at night, and I only seen the eye shine of the deer. That's how dark it was. Well, we kept walking up the road, and then next, something catches my attention over on the other side of the road, and I'm staring at it. And keep in mind, what I'm seeing is something reflecting. At least that's what I thought. It was bright yellow, and my eyes weren't focused right. And next, well, first of all, before I say any more, what I thought I was looking at, what was in my head was, sometimes in the national forest where we were, sometimes there's these little square yellow signs tacked to trees and stuff. Basically, they tell you no vehicles beyond this point. Well, I say, that's a weird place to have a sign. I said, there ain't no way to drive off the side of the road over there. And the next you know, what comes into focus was two eyes that blinked their eyes. And I was like, what the heck? I'll describe the yellow. The eyes were yellow, almost like what the color you have on the screen here with our names highlighted. It was like a yellowish, almost, I don't want to say amber. It was totally yellow to me. Next person behind me was Tracy Arnold. I said, Tracy, I said, we got eye shine up here. I said, he was looking right at it as I was pointing. I said, what the heck is that? Is that a mountain lion? The only reason I thought that because it was setting low. And next you know, it kind of disappears. But Tracy yells out to everybody else, guys, get up here. We got eye shine going on up here. So we all get up into that spot where we saw it. There was nothing there. But we're looking out into the woods, and we see that same set of eye shine again. And the eye shine was probably, we didn't realize at that particular moment until we got all our lights in there. And the ground, from the forest road, the ground sloped down about several feet, probably about 7-8 feet, and then it leveled back out. So we're actually looking down at this thing, and it's at this particular time, it was hard to give an estimate on how high it was. We weren't seeing no shape or nothing, but we're seeing steady eye shine. But you could tell the subject was doing this number, swaying back and forth fairly quick. And we're like, what the heck is that? And we're all focused on this subject right here with, swaying back and forth and with the yellow eye shine. Well, it got a little bit more interesting. Well, probably about 5-6 feet to the right of that, a lot taller, was another set of eye shine. Same color eye shine. And here we are. We're using the two for comparison of height now. The one subject had to been about 4 feet tall. This next subject was around 6 feet tall, and it just stood there. It wasn't moving. We didn't see no silhouette, no shape, or nothing. It just had eye shine, and it did blink once or twice. So here we are. A few minutes are going by, and at the time, the one guy that was with us, we didn't know he was recording this. He had all this on camera. And one of the guys, the couple that was with us, Kimmy and Darren was almost tempted to walk down there. And we a couple of us stopped him. We don't know what we were looking at. We had no idea. And, well, the thought of what we were looking at changed very quickly, because after observing for a few minutes of these two subjects, over to the far right of the 6 foot one, behind the bushes, there was a few trees, there were some thick bushes. Well, a couple of us, I think it was just me and Tracy, were the only ones to spot this at first. Well, there was another set of eye shine, but it was very low, and it looked like it was slowly raising up, like it was crouched down and going into a stand-up position. Well, when it stood up, it towered over top of the 6 foot one, at least by 2 feet.
Wow.
So here we are. We got an 8 foot one, 6 foot one, and a 4 foot one. Well, this is where it got interesting. That tall one blinked its eyes, and it did a left turn. When it did this left turn and looked a step back, while it did this maneuver, this is what it made out. A big round shape of a head and broad shoulders. So, and at this point, I think, who was it? Somebody, I can't remember who said it. It might have been Tracy, but Tracy, he was like, guys, we got squatches. And Kimmy was like, oh my God. She was like standing behind us. She was like freaking out. None of us was scared. It's just, they didn't pose no threat to us. They didn't seem like they were, aggressive. They were just more or less standing there observing us like we were observing them. We were honestly, believe it or not, we were actually acting silly a little bit. A couple of us were making noises and sounds trying to get a response out of them. But yeah, after a while, they all turned off and disappeared further into the darkness. And I'm convinced that what we saw were squatches, because on the tall one, like I said, when it made that maneuver, the top round, big head and broad shoulders, that was when it made that maneuver and looked back at us. That was the most I ever saw of them. And we went back let me back up. I'm jumping ahead. We went off. We made our way back to camp. And when we got back to camp, we were still discussing it. we were actually trying to debunk it. And, you know, all the animals that I know that exist in that area, well, I know they do have a lot of bears. And I was like, there's no way those were bears. Me and Tracy, we're the only ones that had backpacks. And this is where we started kicking ourselves in the butt, because in our backpacks, we realized each of us had night vision. And not once did we think about pulling it out. Not once. But we learned that Cliff, the guy Cliff that was recording it, we learned that he filmed this. And so he didn't show it. Well, he tried to show us on his camcorder. It didn't really show to him. But when he uploaded it and put it on YouTube, I was like, oh, right. I said, man, I hope it picked up what we saw. Now, I'll be honest. Some people say, oh, I see the eye shine. I see it. I can't make it out. But you could definitely make out our activity and everything that you could see us looking at what we were looking at. But what we were observing, it didn't get picked up on the camera. Some people claim they do see it. I don't. But that was exciting. And that neck of the woods, that's where a lot of activity has taken place over the years. And I mean, there's other areas in my research area that I explore into where I've found things, I've heard things, and experienced things. But that area right there is my main focus. I've had vocalizations out of there. I have found tracks in there. And 2015 was another incident I had by myself. Now, I didn't see nothing, but it was during hunting season. I was hunting, and I was camping there at the same time. Nobody else was camping in the area. And it was probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And I'm sitting there by the fire. I actually had my shotgun leaning up against my truck. And, you know, I was kind of sitting there. I was actually a little bored, you know. So I decided to pick up my spotlight, and I walked out to the forest road, got out to the middle of the forest road. Now, keep in mind, I didn't have my spotlight turned on until I got to the middle of the forest road, because when I was walking away from my camp, I had enough light to guide me out to the road. So when I got to the road, that's when I pulled the trigger on my spotlight, started shining it. I started to my left, and immediately, as soon as I started shining it, I spooked a deer. I didn't see it, but you could hear a deer, you know, take off just inside the tree line. And so I'm continuing panning along. And as I got past 12 o'clock, around between 1 and 2 o'clock, is what happened next. Whatever was inside that tree line over to my right was very large. And I tell you, it was bipedal, because I heard whatever it was stepping away from me. You could hear every step take a crunch and a thump as it took a step. It wasn't a slow walk, and it wasn't a fast walk. It was like kind of like a, oh shit, I got to get out of here. I'm going to be seen more, you know. Mm-hmm. But when I heard this walk away from me, I was walking backwards with my back towards camp, and my other hand reaching down, trying to get my keys to make sure my vehicle was unlocked, just in case I had to jump in it. But I was nervous. My heart was thumping. But when I got back to camp and I calmed down, I was like, whatever that was, if it wanted to hurt me, it could have came after me. It went away from me. I said, it didn't want to bother me. But I think about that day, you know, quite often. And I'm convinced that had to be, you know, that had to have been a Sasquatch. I mean, it was definitely bipedal, and it was very heavy, whatever it was. I like to call it a Sasquatch, but then, you know, like I said, I didn't see it. I'm going by the sounds of the steps, you know, and I know bipedal steps. Yeah. I've had a lot of close encounters with bears. Bears usually, sometimes when they take off, they jolt. You might hear them scuffle at first, but they're pretty quiet, you know, especially because of the padding on their feet, you know. So I'm pretty convinced that was not a bear. So
yeah, that first encounter that you described, I don't know about you, Rick, and the Walls, but that sounded a lot like ours this past weekend. What do y'all think? You know, Daniel, the one that you and I talked about last night, you asked me a lot of questions about the images that I took.
Oh yeah, yes.
Yeah, that encounter sounded a lot like it, where you've got some people in a group, you're all looking at the same thing, trying to figure out exactly what you're looking at, and coming away with the, you know, you're trying to debunk it, and you all come away with the same conclusion that, you know, that's pretty much what it's got to be.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? I mean, that's what I was thinking when he said that.
You talking about when he had the 3-1? Yeah, that's exactly. They were coming. If anything, was that your first time, Daniel, or was that several times
No,
in the group, or have y'all been?
that was actually my first major encounter. I mean, I've had other incidents, but as far as a visual encounter, that was about it. The first one I've actually ever had.
As a group?
Yeah, as a group, I never had nothing like that happen by myself. So, except for the one that whatever walked away from me. Of course, that, like I said, that wasn't a visual. So,
Right.
but,
That's what I was thinking, is that being a group and everything like ours is, because me and Wayne was actually up there by ourselves, just us two, and I think if this was the same ones, I think they've got used to seeing us. Recognize the tent that I have, because we set it up exactly how we had it, so they recognize and say no, understand that we're not there to hurt them. We're there. We're coming back, and yeah, I agree that it was just like ours. We just got a lot more activity. So yeah, I agree with that.
well, and the other thing is too, when you come out of the entrance of the lake out to the main forest road, where we were camped at that time was, like I said, from the lake to our camp spot was almost about a mile. Now, as you come out of the entrance of that lake, you got one big main camp spot right there. Now, keep in mind, these are primitive camp spots. It's not a campground. They're open areas where, if you find a spot to camp, you camp there. So there's a big main spot. Now, that's my main camping spot. I've been camping there ever since, the encounter, and even during the hunting season, I try to get that spot. But there's other group of hunters that come in there with their RVs and stuff and camp there weeks at a time. But yeah, during the certain times of year, I like to be out there. It's usually early to mid spring to around fall, where the temperatures are just right. They're not too cold, not too hot, and but yeah, right at that main camp spot, right outside of the entrance of the lake, I hold that spot a lot because of that encounter and other vocals and other things that's happened in that area. That's why I stay over there. I've camped by myself, and I've had other camps at other times since then. We've had tree knocks right around the camp. We've heard different things, vocalizations from off the different ridges around us, and there's all kinds of different activity that takes place around there. So when I take people camping with me, when I have camping trips, that's the spot I like to put everybody in. One, it's enough to put several tents in there or whatever, and then right there at the entrance of the lake, they have a Johnny house built there. It's like a concrete porta john, really. There's no plumbing, But I do it there, especially if there's, for whatever reason, if there's females there, it's convenient, because girls don't like using the wood. So
Yeah.
But yeah, but that particular area, that section of the woods, has always produced. So there's other areas I could take people into, and scout around, whatever. But that's one of two areas I would definitely bring people to right there, and because of the activity I've. So, but
Now, are you getting a lot of tracks out of that area?
I have before. I've been out there here recently. I found possible impressions and things that looked like good possibilities. I haven't found anything worth casting, that's for sure. If I find a track, to me, it's got to have some details. It's got to show toes. Yeah. So now these are not all from my main area. There's another part of the national forest where some of these came from, but the bigger ones, the big wide ones, those came from around where the main camp area. So that one to the far left right there, that kind of narrow one, that came. I was with my father when I found that track. That actually came from almost down behind the lake. Off the. It's kind of hard to describe the area unless you know it, but it was actually in the middle of a tire track. Now keep in mind, along the lake, the only people that are allowed to drive past there's a gate right there. It's the Forest Service people that run or ride down there, or whenever they come in to stock the lake. But yeah, there was tire marks there because what you do, you walk down the roadway or the trail or whatever, and there's different spots you can fish along the lake. There's handicap accessory docks and stuff along there. But yeah, that track there, I actually have a picture of my daughter holding that one somewhere. But because I have a picture of the track before it got cast, and then of course that picture there. So absolutely, yeah. Like I said, they're not all from that area.
What would you say?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Oh, I'm saying for our viewers, what would you say the length of that track is?
Yeah, that long narrow one, that was around 18 inches. Yeah, but yeah, just about 18 inches. Most of my tracks average about 13 to 15 inches. Most of the ones I found. So,
have you tried to identify like maybe from being the same almost like same Squatch as it's growing up? Like as it's getting bigger, or could be?
Well, honestly, there's a couple of the tracks, a couple of the wide ones, I believe, may have been from the same subject. However, I can't pinpoint or say that they belong to the same. If they were different age sizes, but especially with them being from different areas. So, but yeah, the bigger ones, I did think about that, and considering from the locations where I found them, I do believe they may have been from the same subject. So, yeah,
that's a pretty impressive one right here.
Yeah, this one here, this was almost on the Virginia and West Virginia line. I want to say about 3 or 4 years ago. Let's see, because I was working about 4 years ago, I found this one. So. Yeah, this was impressive.
When you have standing water in them like that, do you find it more difficult to cast those? I'll be honest, I've never casted a track before. It's something that I want to do. I found a couple of tracks, but didn't have the material with me, and I'm mainly just asking for myself. But also tell our viewers, when you have standing water in there, what's the best way to get that?
Well, to be honest with you, now, when I found these, I didn't have plaster with me. But the thing is, I learned about something after this because this had a lot of water in it. And what I learned, I learned this from other people. One, you could take a turkey baster. You could try to get most of the water out with it like a turkey baster, suction it out more or less. Sometimes in other situations where I have found other tracks that were just muddy, what I would do, I would take the dry plaster and sprinkle it and coat the track. They're kind of like, as a kind of a pre-casting. I let it sit for a little bit, and then make your plaster, and then pour it in there slowly. But
that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I have actually other pictures where I have found other partial trackways and other trackways that where in person you can make them out, but in order to catch them on camera, I've actually powdered the tracks, a trackway before. Each track I found, you powder them up, and that way you could show the pattern, how they're stepping.
What would you think about, like, say you don't have anything like that? What about like a bright spray paint?
That's a good idea. You kind of the mark them, the spray them, and coat them out.
Maybe spray it inside of it. Maybe it will show the outline too and everything. And
yeah, that would actually, thinking about that, I think that would, if it's not a wet track or not, that would definitely work, most definitely. Cool. There was something else I was going to bring up. It's all right. Maybe I'll think about it afterwards. But
looks like we got another one right there. Is that?
This is the one.
To that last one.
Well, yeah, that's exactly where this is. This is the one that's on that. You see, if you look to the right, that's where the tire marks are. Mm-hmm. This was right there along the way there. This is that one long, narrow one right there is that I cast. I should have sent you the picture of my daughter holding it. It shows it a lot closer and up front. But Yeah, it's funny because my father was just fishing right over there off the side, and I was walking up, and I said, "Dad, get over here." So he's never seen a track with me before. I had to show him that. He was excited, and I actually didn't have plaster with me because I went with Dad to go fishing.
Mm-hmm.
So the next day I rode out and came back the next day to cast this. So
So
I
is
bet.
your dad a believer?
yeah, he's a believer. Every time I've always gone out, he always knows when I go out, and he'll always ask me, find anything, you see anything, and I tell him stories, I tell him little things, I show him pictures and stuff. But the one time, I got him out there camping with me because he's always talking about, I'm gonna get out there with you one of these days. If I get me a tent, get me a this and that. It's funny when he was saying, yeah, if I had me a tent, if I had me a cart and all this and that, he would be out there. Mom got online, got him all that right away. Mom wanted him out of the house. But yeah, he came camping with me one time, and I'm glad he did because the one night he did camp out there in the main camp spot there, right outside the entrance of the lake. We had a small group of people, and it was kind of a dull day. It was a couple of a dull night. We weren't hearing things. I think we heard a couple of barred owls, and that was it. And Dad, he was taking. He had, I don't know if he still does, but he was taking medicine, heart medicine, and it kind of thins his blood, and he was getting cold really easily, and he was a little tired, so he decided to go in his tent. And I'll tell you what, he wasn't even in there for 10 minutes because the rest of us, we're all sitting around the campfire, kind of shooting the shit. And then from out of nowhere, right across from camp, on the other side of the forest road, in the same part of the woods where we had our 2014 encounter, it was dead quiet. And next you hear, it sounded like somebody took a Louisville Slugger full force up against one of the big pine trees over there. And all you hear was, knock, boom. And Dad came scuffling out of his tent, and he says, "I heard that." I was standing up, pointing in the direction and laughing at the same time. I was like, "I told you they're over here." So
That's awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome. He got to hear something his first time out. That's great.
yeah, absolutely. He's been out in the woods hiking with me during the daytimes in other areas, but yeah, it's just I try to get him out there enough. I barely got him out there to go hunting with me this season, but he came out there one day. So, which didn't make sense. He bought his hunting license, everything he needed, and he only went out there one day. So I was like, "Dad,
any other hunters around that area that's possibly had any encounters like you or heard anything?"
Well, in that particular area where I spent most of my time, I've had one report from a guy I used to work with. Now, he didn't know what I did. This was at an old job I used to work at, and at this time, I was still kind of new there. And he just heard that I talked to some of the other guys where I camp and go hunting at, and he told me a story one day, and he said he was driving down the forest road up on the other end, and he said it was about probably 6 o'clock in the evening, and he had one that come out in front of him across the road on him. It probably stopped for like a split second and briefly looked at him and continued going. And he said he described it as being about 6 foot tall, like a reddish brown hair. So when he told me the story, I was like, by the way, his name's Hunter, and he's a major bass fisherman. And I said, "Who told you about me?" He said, "What are you talking about?" I pulled out one of my cards. I said, "Hunter, this is what I do." I said, "I'm a Bigfoot researcher. I look for Bigfoot." And he had no idea because I didn't share it with nobody. I was like, something, I don't know who might have told him, but I was like, it sounded like he knew about me. But his story, yeah, I don't know. I like to believe it's incredible,
Mm-hmm.
So, but, in the surrounding area, I've had gathered other reports, not in that particular area, but I have heard other reports in the surrounding areas. And that one, that wet track you showed earlier, I ran into a group of young guys that was actually in the area where my main area, and I got into talking to them about this and that, and then I gradually get into talking about Bigfoot with people. I kind of gradually work my way in to show people, and Well, these guys pulled out their phone after I showed them my card and everything. We were talking about Bigfoot. Dude pulled out his phone and he showed me a picture of this trackway, and it was in snow. The snow was only about probably a couple of inches, and I swear to you not, the tracks almost looked similar to this, but almost bigger maybe. I don't know. It was hard to tell from the picture, but the tracks were clear in the snow. And I said, where did this come from? When he named that area, I said, are you serious? It was on a side road up behind that area. Yeah. It wasn't in that same particular spot, but it was on one of the side roads that run behind there. I said, holy crap. Because, these guys there, they hunt there. They're bear hunters, So I thought that was quite incredible. I was like, this is pretty good stuff.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, they were. I asked them. I gave them they had my number and everything on my card. I said, send that to me. I wanted pictures of it so I could show it, but they never did. So I don't know.
So it sounds like the possible they probably know your smell and know you very well, seen you so much there. Have you tried to up it a little bit and like maybe give them a gift and say, hey, look, I'm here.
Yeah. How do you feel about gifting?
Well, gifting, I agree. Be honest with you, it's a fun experiment. However, I know a lot of people like to use food. The one thing I will say about food, I feel very objective towards that for a couple different reasons. Well, one, you got to consider, you leave food out, you come back, oh, it's gone. Bigfoot took it. No, I mean, there's other critters in the woods. There's raccoons, there's possums, there's deer that will eat up apples and everything, whatever else. And bears. I'm going to tell you, bears love peanut butter. I used to use food. I used to use peanut butter. I've had the bears on the trail cameras taking the whole jar of peanut butter away. And, and to me, I got to think about that later. I said, for one thing, that's a big no-no. We don't know if animals have allergic reactions to the foods that we eat, So that's one thing. You got to consider their health as well as, what you're doing. Because if you start leaving food in a certain area, especially if you camp in this area, you might attract an unwanted visitor. So yeah, I kind of talk down on food gifting. Apples, I believe apples are safe. I don't think any animal can be allergic to an apple. So apples, I believe, are safe.
My God, I feel better now since I've done the apple now.
I'm sorry if you use peanut butter. I did too. I'm guilty of it too. But
I did use peanut butter.
Yeah, something took a whole jar of peanut butter. I've actually got that video up on YouTube.
Yeah, I've actually done that twice. Matter of fact, but the first time I tried it. Wait, was that the first time? No, we did it during the 2014 expedition when we had our encounter. It was up way up on the ridge up behind our camp, and we actually made a gifting area, and it was fun because Tracy Arnold's son caught a small trout out of the river by our camp, and we had this piece of wood. It was part of firewood, but it was wide and flat. We used it as the gifting table, and we put it up against this pine tree, and he put the trout on there. And then I think Kimmy had these Rice Krispie treats, the little squares. She put them on their outside edge of the block. So we go back to camp and come back the next day. Of course, the trout's gone, and the Rice Krispies are still there. They got scattered. They didn't get eaten. They just got scattered around. Then we had a real big fat jar of peanut butter. Now we put that out there. We actually had part of the peanut butter smeared on the block to give off scent. And the jar of peanut butter, with the lid screwed on tight, and left it there. Of course, that was gone, and but I got to think because a few people had to leave early from camp a couple days earlier, and so I was there. I stayed the rest of the day, and when I went up there, to go check on the area, because I took some sticks and I made almost like a teepee and the kind of make it look. I don't know. I wanted to do something fancy. And then since the Rice Krispie treats are still there, I put them back up. I put them all together in a cluster on the block. And the pine litter on the ground, I try to sweep all that away because I want to see if something's coming around here. I want to see the tracks. Of course, we didn't think about that earlier, but while I was up there, I don't know, I did hear off in the distance, and it kind of freaked me out because I was by myself, and I was like, oh no, that sounds like a bear. I thought maybe there was a bear in the area, and here I am the whole time. I'm thinking there probably is a bear that was taking everything, the trout, that could have been a fox or a coyote. There's a lot of coyotes in the area, so there's plenty of suspects that you can't rule out on that one.
What do you think about using trail cams in your investigations, buddy?
Honestly, I'm a big believer in that. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's a waste of time because the Bigfoot could see it. Well, I believe Bigfoot does see it. There's other animals, the deer and bear. I've had bears and deer staring right into my trail cameras. I think there's some others that are better than others. I know the Browning, anyone who's familiar with the Browning Dark Ops series, it's a small, now they make a lot of cameras small, compact like these, but they use it in some form of their technology. They use it in visible flash, which you won't see a glow. It's not visible to the naked eye. And it has a good range of, capture. And also they pick up audio too. Sometimes if it hears something before it sees it, it'll start recording, which is awesome. I do believe that they would work. I just think it's a matter of time, having them set in the right place at the right time. Me, I have a habit of only leaving them out there. The longest I left the cameras out there, probably about maybe up to a month or two. Maybe I need to set them out there, put a good fresh set of batteries in there, SD card, and leave them out there. Just forget about it for a long time. But I'm very funny. I'm a little bit more cautious now with trail cameras because I've had 2 of them stolen from me before up behind my main camp way down there, because I've actually hunted back there too, and I've had my camera set up in the area too, and I've always picked up the deer and turkey back there, and I only had them out there for this one time I had them out there for a month, and I was in the area. I said, you know what, I'm gonna go pick up my cameras and check them out. And of course they weren't there. I was like, son of a bitch. Because my ground blind, of course, somebody must have had the idea to look around to spot them, or they spotted them right offhand, because I had a ground blind set up. It was a burlap, camouflage burlap going wrapped around some trees where I set my chair up behind there. And but yeah, that was a major disappointment. So, but I was like, man, so that's my main thing is setting up trail cameras. And I set them up. I like observing the other wildlife, and being a deer hunter, I like to see the patterns of deer. And if I happen to capture a Sasquatch on it, hey, more power to me. It's no problem.
Yeah.
So,
well, guys, I don't know about y'all, but that was the quickest hour that we've had. I think we've already gone over an hour. Daniel, we still got a lot of stuff to talk about, buddy. I hope you'll come back.
Oh, feel free. I'm more than well. I'm more than glad to. So. All
right. Yeah,
I like to talk. So.
And we like people that like to talk. We're all in love with the same subject, and we could go for hours, but we try to keep them around an hour or so to keep people, interested. So again, man, thank you so much. Thanks for coming on and learn a little bit from you. And again, Daniel's the convention coming up. Let's put this up there one more time. Guys, go check that out if you're in the area, in the Virginia area, or even in the South and feel like driving. From what I hear, Daniel puts on a good show.
Well, thank you very much. Oh yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And it's going to be very informative. And the other thing too, everybody gets to interact, and there'll be Q&As. Everybody will have a chance to question the speakers, and and then a lot of people come there to share their stories and sightings, and that's exciting. We'll get to learn about surrounding stories and sightings. So, and one last thing before we jump off here, I want to make a clear statement. A lot of people like to say, there's a lot of people that like to make mockery and ridicule others, and think people that are high and mighty. Well, I like to make a statement that, for the record, I'm not no expert, and I don't claim to be an expert. So I want to make sure that everybody knows I'm not no expert. I do a lot of research and study, in and out of the field. When I'm not in the field, in my spare time, I do like to do a read up and study on things, scientifically. So that's just how I am. I'm not, like I said, I try not to be fancy, but I do the reading and studying out of the field for my own benefit, to better understand other things. So, and along with my experience out in the woods. So I just want to make that statement, and thank you.
Yeah, I mean that's well said. I mean I've said it 100 times, and I'll say it 1,000 more. There's no such thing as a Bigfoot expert.
Absolutely.
None of us have a degree in Sasquatch. We didn't go to school for this. We choose to call ourselves researchers.
Yep.
That's something we decided to do. And yeah, you made a good point, and I think I know what you were referencing, and I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, absolutely. And
All right.
the main thing is it's a lot of fun, and we like to have fun with it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of learning involved too. So I always make sure I put wildlife before Bigfoot, because it's very important to learn and study wildlife before going after the unknown. So
Absolutely. All that being said, Daniel, thanks again. We will have you back, hopefully, have you come back on and talk to us some more, buddy.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Ricky and Derek. Thank you guys very much.
Awesome.
Nice meeting you guys.
Very much.
Have a good one, Daniel.
You too.
All right, guys, that was Mr. Daniel. What'd y'all think?
That was pretty good. I liked it. That was very.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Daniel, he's a good guy. We've been talking a little bit on Facebook Messenger, and he's been giving me some advice, and he asked me a bunch of questions about the pictures that I had posted from our trip last weekend, and it was his belief too that we had possibly had a couple of visitors that night, so that made me feel a little bit better. But yeah, I was excited to have Daniel on.
I'm gonna tell you, as far as thermal imaging goes, I think what we got over there this past weekend or week before last was as good as anybody's gotten. It's as good as anything that I saw. I feel that the creatures were there. I feel that they were actually as curious about us as we were them, and that's basically what I've got to say on the subject. Like I said, I do believe they were there. I know there was a couple of times that I kind of got a little frightened while we were out down the road, especially when y'all boys throwed that rock. That kind of got away with me, but
that'd be the same as that the walkie-talkie going off and scaring us, or when I jumped on Wayne. What was that?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, guys. We have fun out there. Again, we got our website up and going. It's down there, mannimalresearch.com. Guys, check that out. And everybody that's been watching tonight, and the ones that are going to watch it, I hope you'll subscribe. Yeah, do us a favor. We're trying to make a name for ourselves and get some good stuff out there. And we have started offering some guided expeditions. You can find info about that on our website. Yeah, I'd love to answer any questions anybody has. And all that being said, we'll let you guys go.
One other thing, Bud, before we get off air is I would like to mention about the deal I sent you the email on tonight about people interacting with us as far as giving their emails, their names, whatever. If you don't care, mention that to the people that we got on air. And
yeah, we just wanted to reiterate to everyone that if you don't want your name out there with your encounter, we understand that. We will respect your anonymity 100%. We will give you a different name if you want to. We'll black out your face. Or we can do a telephone interview if you don't want to come on and show your face. None of your personal information will ever be shared with anyone. Your phone number, your your email address, anything like that. Nothing will ever go past us. we give you our word, and that's something that we really, really strongly believe in. So, yeah.
Wayne, thanks for getting that across to the people.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good night. Everybody out there, y'all be good to each other.
All right. Bye.
All right, man.